You need me to move my mic?
Hey, Abby, I'm just getting some mic knocking noises. It sounds like you're hitting the desk a bit and just...
Oh. I am okay.
Ooh, sorry, Professor.
I'm a disruptor. I've always been a disruptor, so even with mics.
Glamour Magazine's top 50 disruptors.
That's such a fucking like hashtag disruptor series. Yeah. Wow. I got excited.
Women. Yeah.
I got excited about a sale and a deal, and I started hitting the table.
Lipstick on my teeth. Welcome to Black Frasier, y'all. I'm your host, Phoebe Lynn Robinson, and as always, I'm joined by my co-producer, editor, love of my life, and sweetest piece of sausage beside the Mason-Dixie line.
The what?
That's American history. We'll get into it later, babe.
Okay. I'll have to look that one up afterwards, do I?
Okay. I just am going to put this out there. I've tried very hard to not lean forward with my U2-ness, but I had to do it today, bitches.
Yeah. There's more. U2 just creeps more and more into our life every single moment.
So anyway, I'm wearing a U2 Joshua Tree t-shirt that I purchased from Urban Outfitters.
Didn't know they were a British-owned company, but okay.
And I just feel like all this time I've been wearing all these other different looks, and I was like, I need to honor my boys. So I'm wearing a U2 t-shirt. If you want to watch the YouTube version of this episode.
There's a U2 version?
I said YouTube.
Oh. I'm just so used to hearing U2 that I'm just like.
So if you want to click on over to YouTube to see exactly how cute this fucking shirt is. I mean, come on.
Little do they know that you're not wearing any pants.
Well, all the way they know now. But I want to say, how are you doing, babe? I love you. I adore you.
Oh, I love you too, babe. I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah, having a great week.
Where's your YouTube merch?
In your closet, because anything U2 I'd ever own, you would take.
Right.
So, I did count how many U2 memorabilia items are in this room.
Oh, no. How many? Is it like 12?
It's not that many, actually. There's 4 behind you.
Right.
Or maybe 3 behind you.
We have the U2 by U2.
Yes.
Which is the oral history of the band by them. Because what?
Because the visual history wasn't enough.
Then we have U2 and I by Anton Corbijn. And then we have Bono and Conversation. That's another book.
Yes.
Then we have this letter.
Oh, I forgot about the letter.
The letter. I keep saying it's a letter. It's literally like one sentence.
It's a Post-it note.
But that's it. That's like not that much, you guys.
So off camera, there is Bono on the wall.
There's a photograph of him that The Edge took of him during the Joshua Tree era.
Then you have your U2 harmonica.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
In my defense,
Your Honor,
I did not say, listen, mates, I want a U2 harmonica that came free of purchase with a signed booklet from when they did the Joshua Tree reboot Redux tour in 2017, and the band signed the book
by hand.
Yes. What do you think happened?
A printer did it. No.
You think they just went to Staples and they were like, here, mate.
Photocopy this, 6,000 copies, please.
You don't think Larry sat down, Larry Mullen Jr., the drummer of the band, sat down and was like, I'm going to sign this version of this booklet for Phoebe?
I honestly thought this podcast was called Black Frasier, not the official fandom of U2.
Drugged. Okay. Anyway, that's not the point of this episode, you guys. But if you must know, you want some YouTube merch, go to YouTube.com.
Not a sponsor. Not affiliated anyway with this podcast.
YouTube.com. They have great items. Tons of stuff.
I'm not going to say a thing.
But what are you thinking?
So much. So very much.
I have a lovely heart, a very open heart.
Yes, you do.
And I'm a great fan. Anyone would be honored to have me as a fan.
They would.
Thanks, babe. Okay, so let's move on to the actual point of this episode. Getting knocked up, bun in the oven, goofing in a cooch.
Oh, that is horrible. I love you to bits, but that is vile.
You don't like goofing in a cooch?
Don't repeat it, please. I feel violated. And that's what you get.
I need a sip of my drink. The point of this episode is about kids and in particular about people who are either on the fence about having kids or like you and I and don't want to have children. And I think especially during the time of the core, people being inside, you have all this extra time, excuse me, and energy to sort of think about what do I want the next, 18 years of my life to look like. And so, I mean, when we moved in together 2 years ago, we decided that we weren't going to have kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, even like a little bit nervous to say that because I was like, oh, like, am I going to be enough? Is this relationship going to like keep you entertained and keep you engaged enough to sort of...
Trust me, there's plenty to keep me entertained with you. But I know what you mean.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, like, when you were a kid, because here's the thing. I think that girls are really, your toys are, here's a baby doll, here's a house, you're playing house, all these sorts of things that, like, of course, boys aren't really, those aren't the toys. It's like rough and tumble, it's explorer. You can
soccer.
Soccer. You could be anything. And so I'm wondering, like what your thought on kids were growing up, and then as an adult, did it ever really cross your mind that, hey, I gotta think about whether or not I want to have kids, or do you just like, not at all, I'm a white dude doing my white dude things?
That's what my whole life has just been. Just a white dude doing white dude things. I think from a very early age, I realized I didn't want kids.
Really? How early? Are we talking like 8?
No, probably like teens, early teens.
Okay. And why? Why was that?
I don't know. It was just never a thing that I had ever crossed my mind about having kids. It was never, I want to grow up, get married, have kids. That was never in the conversation at all in my mind. And I think the older I've gotten, not that I have anything against people having children because their lives are so fulfilled and so happy. It's just that I get my fulfillment in life a different way, I feel. And I love children and love being around them and have a great time when we go see your family with your niece and nephew. But it's always that relief being able to give them back at the end. Because I don't know if it's in me to be a father.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel the same way about you being a father. Just kidding.
Wow.
Zinga. Robinson won Bake Off 0. Oh wait. Robinson, wait.
Wait.
Bake Off Love. Robinson 15. I did tennis.
Oh, you did tennis. Yeah. That's what I thought you were doing at first, but then it didn't click that tennis goes up by 15.
Yeah, it's Love 1530.
Why 15? I'm sure there's a reason we can.
Yeah, why don't you ask, the ghost of Arthur Ashe how they came to the tennis? Ask Billie Jean King. She's in Queens somewhere.
I'm good.
At her stadium, just walking around empty.
Just walking around.
What is Billie Jean King up to, you guys? No, but back to.
So when you were growing up, did you ever think you would have a family?
I think when I was younger, like a kid and even a teenager, I was sort of like, yes, but not really thinking anything other than like, sure, that's a thing that people do. So I guess I will do that. And I would say maybe when I was 27, I did have baby fever. Like at that age.
You did?
Yeah, where I was like, I would just see, a guy in the park with like his kids. And I would just be like, oh, I want that for my life. But then I turned 28 and I was like, you don't want that? What the hell are you talking about? And so, yeah, I just really feel like, I don't know if I just don't have the capacity. Like, I feel like being a parent is this. It's like a relentless thing, and once you start it,
it's just a full-time job.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
Yeah,
for the rest of your life. And excuse me, that was a burp that I was trying to withhold. I have bubbly water, but I think I'm not built for that. And as much as I like to nurture and like attend to things, I think I do that in my career and with my friendships and my relationship with you. And so I feel like me being a parent and having to, like, I don't want to have to relearn algebra to like help my kids with their homework.
Right.
Like, what? I didn't want to learn the first time. You think I'm going to do it again in my early 40s?
And then it's the responsibility of you to teach your child as well.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot of pressure.
No, I don't think I could teach kids anything.
Yeah, I do look at parents these days and just be like, I have the utmost respect for them, totally, because it's such a hard job, and it really is just a full-time 24/7 job.
Yeah. And I think, with this discussion, there's certainly people who judge folks for not having kids. And I'm sure there are people who decide to not have kids and they get older in life. They maybe have a twinge of regret about it. I think it's just one of those things, like, it's one of those major life decisions that you just have to choose one and hope that it's.
And there's no wrong decision. I think a lot of people who don't want kids get a lot of stick from people that have kids about, oh, you'll change your mind when you're older. Oh, you're only feeling, it's a phase. You're only feeling that now.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay to say that you don't want kids and not to have children.
Yeah. So I hope that when we're old together.
And wrinkly. Older and wrinklier. I'm pretty wrinkly.
No, he's not, you guys. But when we're like in our 70s, and I imagine we're like next door neighbors to Sasha and Malia Obama. Do you think we could afford to live in the same neighborhood?
And when they say neighbors, that's like an acre and a half away is the nearest house.
But when we're old and all cute together, I hope that when we look back on our lives, we feel like even though we didn't have kids, we had so much love to give, and we gave it in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's really sweet. And I think this is a perfect segue to talk about our guest for today's episode, truly one of my favorite people, a good friend of mine, Miss Abbi Jacobson. So many of you know her as the co-creator, co-star, co-producer, and director of Broad City. She has a New York Times bestselling book called I Might Regret This. And this is exciting news. Her new series for Amazon got picked up. It's like the like the latest like reincarnation of A League of Their Own that she's starring in.
Ooh.
And so she's just doing the damn thing. And it was so good to catch up with her. She's in LA. And we just sort of, I think her and I have just really, I think in the past couple years, we've really been having like a lot of deep talks. Like we got past the surface level shit and like every conversation has been a lot of deep stuff. And we've been talking a lot about whether to have kids or not have kids, freezing eggs and all these things. And we realize that a lot of people who check our work are maybe also having these sort of conversations with their friends. So we thought it'd be great to put that in public because everything is content, baby.
2020.
But I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I think it was really wonderful. We had great listener questions. So I think the advice section of this episode is fan-freaking-tastic. So without further ado, you guys, it's Abbi Jacobson!
The mic is in a good spot. I'm sorry, I'm fucking out.
No, you're perfect. I love it.
Okay.
Hi, Abbi. Hi.
Hi, Pheebs. I can't do it.
You could do it. Hi. You had to just really be.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. It's so it seems so upsetting.
Yeah.
It's like a quarantine high. You've shifted it to be like kind of a hi versus hi.
Hi.
Yeah,
everyone has tuned out of the podcast by now, so we lost all the listeners.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm wearing a wig for you today. I want to spruce it up. You know,
gorgeous. You really look. You don't look like we're in quarantine.
No, I look like I'm thriving, but I'm not wearing pants, so I am not thriving.
I was in like workout pants, and I was like, I'm putting jeans on for Pheebs.
Whoa! Damn, high-waisted and everything?
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
got to.
I like that.
Got to.
Okay, well, no, I'm so excited that you're doing Black Frasier. Like, people were so excited that you're going to be on the podcast. And, like, this is probably one of the most, like, I'm the most excited for this episode in particular, just because I think it's very much top of mind for me. And I think for a lot of people who are our fans and our friends, I think, you know, we're going to get into it today. I feel like this is the one. Real talk's going to happen, and I'm really stoked.
Me too. I'm not exactly sure where we're going, but I love it. Were you gonna get in there?
No,
I like it.
But, you know, we're both in our 30s. We're in our can we say mid 30s? Will that cost us so many Hollywood jobs? LOL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been telling the industry that we're still in our 20s. So yes, we are both in our mid 30s. 30s.
Yes, and I feel like this is an age where society makes women be like, okay, what are you going to do? You haven't had kids yet. Are you going to have kids? If you don't have kids, does your life have any value? Like, there's just so much pressure and so much judgment that it can be almost paralyzing. And so I wanted to have a conversation today about being a woman who decides that, you know, maybe I either don't want to have kids now or I don't want to have kids ever, and just sort of kind of talking through those feelings and sort of just seeing how society sort of views us. And I don't know. I mean, I'll go first and say that I 1000% do not want to have kids. And
how did you, is that something you've always, like, have you come to that, or you're like, I've always felt that way?
I mean, I think in my 20s, I wanted to,
I'm the only one that ruins like your whole train of thought because I laugh every time you do something in that. What is it even called? I don't know.
Like
I just love it.
it.
Yeah, the abreves.
I think in my 20s, I really was sort of like, oh, I think I could see myself having kids. And I think around 27, I sort of felt like, oh, I definitely want to have kids. And then I turned 28 and I was like, what? You don't. You don't want to have that much responsibility. And so I think now in my 30s, I'm sort of okay with saying I don't want to have kids without qualifying it or apologizing, where I'd be like, oh, I don't want to have kids, but maybe I might change my mind, or maybe I'll adopt. And now I'm just like, I don't want to have kids, period, full stop. What about you?
I don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't have like as succinct or clear answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, more recently, I mean, under this scenario right now, I haven't really been thinking about it. But I mean, just in quarantine. But the past couple years, I think for me, well, okay, I'll go back because I do feel like, and this is something that I wrote a little bit about in my book, which was about how, I just had these ingrained ideas of what I was supposed to do when I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to get married to a man and have kids. And like, not that it was even forced on me. It was just what I saw. It's truly like white supremacy, the same thing. It's like, This is what I do. This is what you do. Like, and it was like such a shift for me when I started dating women, because I was just like, that whole narrative sort of was like shaken a little, where I was like, oh, well, maybe this isn't what I will do. Like, I might not necessarily marry a man. And so if that's true, then what else? Like, maybe I won't have, I mean, and it was like, it was just that shifting. And then, and then now I don't think I want kids so much that I would have them on my own. So for me, I'm not dating anyone, and so it's not a thing for me of like, I need to have kids on my own. I want them so badly, which I think a lot of people do, that they'll have them on their own, which is like, dope, do that. For me, I'm not at that point right now. So I don't know, like I still am kind of in it where I don't know what I want. I kind of still always envision myself with kids. But it's kind of an ongoing question. I don't know if I answered that fully. I don't have the answer, truly.
But I think that's also important to be able to say, I don't know 100% which way I'm leaning right now, because I think society forces everyone to be like, okay, get married by 25, buy a house by 30, have kids if you haven't already, and have these like specific markers that we're supposed to be tied to. So I think even having the conversation with yourself and being like, I'm not sure where I stand, I think is a very political, not very political, but a very powerful thing for you to do. And it allows you to free yourself up, I feel like.
Yeah.
And, around the time that Bake Off and I, like, because even though I was sure, like, I didn't want to, I call Bake Off because he wants to be a private citizen for all the podcast listeners. But even before he and I started dating, I was sort of like, well, maybe I'll just freeze my eggs, because I was kind of worried because he's 4 years younger than me. And, I think we started dating when he was 28, 27, 28. And, you feel very differently about things. So when he was like, oh yeah, I don't want to have kids, I was sort of like, maybe I should freeze my eggs just in case he turns 33 and it's like, I want to be a dad. And then when we had a conversation about like, truly, like, how do you feel about this? And he was like, don't freeze your eggs. Like, if we really do want to have kids and we're in our 40s or early 50s or whatever, we will adopt. But like, he sort of freed me up from that pressure of like, maybe I should, because I was really kind of worried. Like, we were, early 30s, your eggs like everyone scares you. And they're like, your eggs
we would be like geriatric. We're truly, that's what it's called, geriatric pregnancy, after like 32, which is like, fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just very much like, okay, I'm not going to freeze my eggs at all. And so what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I think I maybe mentioned this to you like very quickly. So I kind of hadn't, I know a lot of friends that have done that.
Mhm.
And I actually had this, like, I've had a couple run-ins with people. It's funny when you get older, at least for me, I don't know if this happened for you. I've had a couple run-ins where people were like there was an not older, but like she was probably in her late 40s. And someone that like I used to work with very distantly, but we ran into each other and she was like, freeze your eggs. I was like, hi. It was clearly like she had been someone who didn't. So she was telling everyone like, freeze your fucking eggs. Because I wish I did kind of vibe. And I was like, hi, how are you? Also, what's your name again? Like it was such a distant like coworker. And so that like made me think about it. This was a couple years ago. And then more recently, I was at a party with a friend, and it was someone that I just really didn't think that they would be thinking about this. And they were going through this right now. They were like freezing their eggs.
Wow.
And they were telling me how and why, like why they were doing it. And it was sort of just this thing of like what I was talking about before, where like, I don't know if I want kids. I can't decide. And she was saying how, well, freezing your eggs, it's expensive. It's such a fucking luxury and privilege. But she was like, if I do this, then I don't have to decide. It's a little bit of a security to do this. And so truly, I forgot I did this, but before, so I shot this pilot right before COVID. And I went to a consultation to freeze my egg just to see what it was right before the pilot. And I was like, well, if I want to do it, maybe I'll do it after the pilot's finished. And then COVID happened. And hilariously, the like doctor's office called me and they were like, we're having a deal. We have a deal on egg freezing. And I'm like, of course you do right now. And I was like, it's just not really like a priority right now for me. But also, it is that thing, what you're saying. It's like TikTok, women are very much like taught TikTok. If you don't do it now. And truly that like ex-coworker was like, I wish I did. You better like snap too. And I don't know. It's sort of it's such a hard thing because it is like an out of sight, out of mind thing for me right now. But also like, well, if I want to freeze them, I kind of should.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Take advantage of that deal. I love a good deal. I really like truly when I'm on my phone, I get those like Instagram ads and it's like 20% off. I'm like, oh my God, babe, can you believe this? And he's like, you're such a sucker. So
I love a fucking deal. Are you kidding?
Me too.
I love a deal. But it is, I'm like, that's the most Jewy part of me. But the like a deal on the egg freezing's really expensive.
Yeah.
It just seemed, I was like, this seems like such a crazy time to do something like that. But also maybe, I don't know. You know what? Wait, something before I forget, something that was really interesting and really fucked up in my own head was and maybe you can help me unpack this, but it was a little, so when the like standard narrative shifted for me when I started dating women, and I was like, well, maybe my life won't be what I always thought it would be or should be. Yeah. I started being like, well, maybe that means I like can't have kids. Like it's such a different thing for women, or for like gay women or same-sex couples to go through that process. And what a homophobic thought to have about myself, which is such another, I don't feel that way anymore, but it was like, that was my first thought, which is just like upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way that we're programmed. Like, I love romantic comedies and everything is just straight couple and you like hate each other at first, but then you fall in love and you get married and you have kids. And So to me, it feels like your process of expanding your sexuality and starting to date women has forced you to sort of maybe deprogram some of the homophobic thoughts that we've all been conditioned to think. Do you feel that's true?
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't like I shouldn't have children.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Yeah,
that far of a homophobic thought. It was more like this thought of like, well, now if I wanted to have kids, it would be an IVF track, or adoption. Whereas straight couples that do IVF, like so many straight couples do IVF. Yeah. It's like not any different. Like, why would that be different for a same-sex couple than a straight couple? But I truly was like, I don't know. Why am I thinking of it differently? It's like programmed somehow.
Yeah.
And so a lot of, I don't know. Yeah. A lot of that was worked through.
Yeah. That's good. And
Yeah.
so you thinking about like whether or not you want to have kids, like I think I was really influenced by looking at the way that my parents raised my brother and I, just because I saw how much hard work like went into it and like how much they like were grinding and hustling. And we were middle class, but we weren't like not comfortable. Like, I still like had tons of student loans for college. I had to do work study for like high school in order to afford to go to my private school. And I just saw the effort that Ma and Pa Robinson put into me. And I was like, I don't know if I have that capacity. Like, do you think any part of your sort of working through whether or not you want to be a mom is informed by the way that your parents raised you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I'm not sure exact. Your brother's older, right? So we have the same.
Yeah.
I have an older brother too. And it's just the two of us. And so I think for me, and also this is like somehow, I'm just relating it also to like every friend of mine from high school is married with children now. I don't know if you have that. And they're all sort of like living very close to where I grew up, sort of they're living the lives that like we lived.
Yeah.
And I feel like me and maybe a couple other of our friends did the New York route. And it feels like the family, the having kids for us is later. Like the work life, at least for women, the work life taking priority in the beginning is like pushes that, if that makes sense. So like I was and am still so work focused. Not that I couldn't have a child right now, but like it just was not my priority. And looking at my parents, I was upper middle class. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but then worked at Bed Bath & Beyond most of my childhood and was an artist and sold things. I laugh at that because that's why my character is obsessed with Bed Bath & Beyond in Broad City. And so like she always worked. And my dad is a graphic designer and worked a lot. But my mom was very much like in my early childhood, a stay-at-home mom. And like, I think she would identify first as a mom over any other career, if that makes sense. And that would be such a shift for me to change my identity. And not that it wouldn't be, obviously, I think when you have a child, that's like takes priority. But yeah, it was just such a, my parents were married really young. They had kids when they were around 29 or 26 and 30. So it was like really young. And that was like that was the center of their whole lives, and it would be such a shift. I don't know if that even answers your question, but it's just, I think that was like their goal. And now it would be totally realigning my goals.
Yeah. I mean, my dad was a stay-at-home dad. Wait, what? You're really what?
No, like this is such a fascinating conversation because it's making me think about it.
Yeah.
She doing it. She's Black Frasier. Because you've never seen Frasier, he gets in there sometimes.
He
There you
does?
go.
Okay.
Yeah, every once in a while.
I think I'm going to start watching and seeing if I get into it. Because it was on for like 15 years or something, right?
It was on for a long time.
Yeah.
It was on for a long time. Yeah.
But yeah, my dad was a stay-at-home dad for a little bit too. And like, I'm curious as to like seeing a parent be stay-at-home, like how, like, I know for me, when my dad was staying at home, I just sort of viewed him as like, oh yeah, that's my dad. And there's like nothing else to his personality or identity. The same way, like in school, like your grade school teachers, you're like, you're just a teacher and that's all you are. Like, do you feel like when your mom was a stay-at-home mom, do you feel like you saw her fully as a person, or you just were like, that's mom, and then moving on to the next subject?
Well, I think she was really good at, like, my mom is an artist. And so even when she was a stay-at-home mom, she had these little like side hustles in our basement. And so one was called this business called Do Me a Favor, which was, she sold these teeny little like party favors to kids' birthday parties. And a lot of them were things she didn't make, but she would like make a lot of them. And just, I remember we were like in the newspaper, in like the local newspaper. But then also right after that, she started becoming a potter. So she made these clay boxes, and she would make them in the basement and then sell them at art craft shows in the tri-state area. So that's like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, I think Delaware when you're in Pennsylvania. Yeah. And my brother and I would like help. So I was around like the hustle of her doing and like working. We would go to the Garden State racetrack, and she would sell her boxes, and I would like sell stuff I had. Like, it was just like, and so that was always that other aspect of her that was like kind of always like hustling. But she was like first and foremost a mom. She was like homeroom mom, always like at school with me, kind of a mom.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. That's awesome. And like, I think when I think about the decision to be like, okay, I'm not going to have kids, and I would tell people I don't want to have kids, people are going to be like, people would say things such as, well, who's going to take care of you when you get old? And just automatically make it like, you're not going to have kids. Your life is going to be a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Or like, you're going to fall apart and no one's going to be there that loves you. And it's sort of this kind of pressure. And I'm wondering, like, you know, have you felt any sort of pressure from people? Have anyone said like side comments about you're not being married and having kids at this point?
It's interesting. I don't know if you feel this way, but like, I feel a lot of our peers don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that pressure from like right here, people that are doing similar things. It's more, I think, an internal like judger of like that same thing of like, mine isn't necessarily who's going to take care of you, but it's like, when I'm older, will I want that? Will I wish I had that? And then also, I mean, I would, I often wonder if that would be a piece of this, whatever this whole experience is that I would want or wish I had done.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those things where it makes you sort of, I think, you know, you think, for me, when I think about life, I'm like, oh, I could do this or I could do that. It could be whatever. I could course correct, blah, blah, blah. But there are certain things where it's like, you're going down one path or the other, and you can't cross back over. So like,
it's even getting married, you'd be like, well, we're not gonna do this anymore. That's, you know, like that happens a lot. But with the kid, the kid thing, it is like,
Yeah. Do you think you want to get married?
The idea of marriage, I can't even get that far, to be honest. I'm truly like that. Like I can't even like get that far. I'm at a point right where I'm like, I just want to like somebody. Like I haven't liked anyone in a second. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't even know if I even need to jump ahead and really contemplate if I want to get married, because I'm like, no, I just need to figure out why I maybe don't, or like in the last little while, why I'm not like connecting. So I'm like, the marriage thing, I don't know. Do you?
I mean, just before I answer your question, go back to the connecting thing. Most people are complete trash. So it's like,
Not
like
disagreeing.
I said, yeah, like if I wasn't with Bake Off, I would fully be single. Like before I met him, I have resigned myself to being just enjoy being single, because I was very much like, yes, I love being in a relationship, but I was so like, oh, my life is not fulfilled because I don't have a boyfriend. And I really just felt like so much pressure of like, I just should be in a relationship and I should have my partner, blah, blah, blah. And then like maybe 2 or 3 months before I met Bake Off, as it always happens, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm done. I just want to focus on my friends, and I like don't want to turn every conversation to like woe is me, and like I just want to be present for people and show up and like be grateful for the life that I have. And then I met him, and so then everything has changed.
I remember this.
Yeah.
I remember, because I won't say any details, but I remember this before you met Bake Off. There was like this thing a little bit before that was so fucking annoying.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes.
And I was like, fuck that. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, fuck this. We were both like, fuck this. Right? I hated that scenario for that situation for you. That was such bullshit. And it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, but yeah, so I got to a place before Bake Off where I was like, I'm just going to be at peace with myself, because I think like, even like the idea of just pushing marriage and kids onto everyone, it's like, I would feel like, oh, I need to have all these things before I even got a chance to know who I was as a person. And so then I got to a place where I'm like, okay, I'm being alone. I'm enjoying myself. I'm realizing the things that I definitely need to work on. Cause in your 20s, you can be like, oh, I'm cool. And then in your 30s, you're like, you're a fucking asshole. And you need to get that in. You know what I mean? You just like check yourself more.
Yeah.
And then now with Bake Off, I'm very much like, okay, so I'll tell you, like, if we do get married, this is the only scenario in which it can happen.
Oh, yeah. This is such an intense thing because he's sitting, like, on the other side of the computer, right?
Yeah.
You're staring at him while you have to tell me that.
I'm like, babe, this is what I want. No.
Walk out of here. Walk out.
Okay. So I want us to get married at Joshua Tree because obviously you too, but also
I did not go there. I was like, cool. It's very peaceful there. I did not put that together. Yeah, of course.
But we met at a U2 concert, so I was like, oh, it means so much. And then you've met Mai, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I want her. I want her to marry us. Which would be really cute. But like, that's kind of because here's the thing, my parents, they got married at City Hall. So like you know what I mean? Like my brother and sister-in-law, they had like a nice wedding in DC, but it was never like there wasn't this sort of like wedding, sort of like hysteria. So to me, I'm always sort of like, oh, if I did get married, the only way I would not do it at City Hall is if we did it in Joshua Tree. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of flexible on if we have to get married, you know?
I mean, yeah, I've never had and maybe, it might also be we're actors. So we kind of have this. Actors is just one of the many multi-hyphenates that me and Phoebe are. But we have opportunities and dare I say, seek narcissistically
Yes.
opportunities to have attention on us.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know, but maybe that's why I never envisioned like the huge wedding day with like the gorgeous dress and like that being my day. Like it's not even about that. I think that's kind of what you're saying. It's like, it would be more an intimate thing where I think a lot of people envision this day and this moment, and that creates a lot of stress because there is so much pressure. I don't know if I'm allowed. I think I'm allowed to talk about it. I think it was like leaked people know she's married, but Alana did like a really small little thing, and it was like really lovely. And then just had like people at her apartment. And I was like, this is awesome. And it's more about just getting to celebrate the couple and that union, and not about this like grand thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's cute.
But I mean, legally, I think I know I've just like shifted into like legally, it like, it can be very helpful. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. And also I wonder if it makes you feel like you're really committing to somebody.
Right. Yeah, I have heard that like when you get married, like there's just a feeling or a shift that happens. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I want to feel that shift, but I'm like, I don't know what would be different. Like we've lived together for 2 years now. Like he's met my family, I've met his family. Like we're really like not that exciting as a couple. Like not to neg us, but we're homebody. Like I just don't know what would be different. I'm not taking his last name. I have no interest in that. So I'm just like, what's the diff?
Know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but most people, I don't know. I'm not the person to ask, truly. But I'm like, I don't know. But most people do it. I mean, I wonder if most people do it because it's a thing that most people do. Like it's like a vicious circle. But I think we also, or at least I'm speaking for me, but I think most people I know have like some sort of, I wonder if it's like we have some sort of like insecurity, whether we're able to acknowledge it or not. And I think when you are like, here we go, get married, it's like everyone in the movies, you're always there. Everyone's always like, this is a day. And it's like, it's because you're doing it to like lock in that insecurity, be like, you don't need to worry because we're doing, it's like, well, then that's kind of a bizarre thing of like, well, why are we, if we don't do it, then we have something to like worry about. Whereas even if you do it, the same shit could happen, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my parents like never wore rings, and people would be like, but he's going to be out. I'm like, where the hell is my dad going to be out at? That he's like,
oh, they're like, oh, and he's not wearing a ring. He's definitely like out at the bar. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No,
not at all.
I don't think my dad didn't wear a ring either. I don't think. And he doesn't now, but my parents are divorced.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that is why I'm like, marriage maybe doesn't work.
But I mean, it just is so like trying to navigate the world with like another person, like, and trying to build a life. Cause I think my fantasy of a relationship is like, before Bake Off, I was like, we're in this relationship. The other person has all this work they need to do on themselves, and I'm perfect, right? Like, I'm on point. Bake Off is like, babe, you old piece of shit. No, he doesn't say that, but he is very much like, oh, you should work on this. Or like, maybe the way you do XYZ is like not the most beneficial for your spirit. And like, I don't know. I'm wondering if like from any of your relationships, have you sort of like learned anything from yourself where you're like, oh, like this is something that I didn't realize maybe is a thing that I should tweak?
Yeah, it's so funny hearing you say that. That's what you felt going into you and Bake Off, because it's like the opposite with me, where I'm like, I'm a fucking mess. I have so much to work on, and like, I'll never be able to like be with them, whoever they are, you know?
Yeah.
That's my going into the world. We're like coming in opposite. We would have gone really well together.
I know, we would be like the perfect couple.
Because you're like, I'm perfect, and I'm like, you're right, I'm the problem. Hilarious. Damn it. He got in there first. But I think that, yeah, I mean, I think for me, I've found that, and I've been trying to like really practice this with friends, is like how to really listen and be there for somebody, and just sharing. Like for me, like my biggest issue is communication, and I've learned a lot that it's obviously, like everything or most things are based on childhood shit, and like I grew up with a lot of nonverbal communication, so I'm not very good, or I will change what I say. I would say I used to not be very good at communicating. And I think I'm getting better. But it's about like I go into a place of fear of actually sharing myself. And when someone shares with me, I'm like, I'm not capable of being there for them in the way they need, or they're not going to like I can't share, just that back and forth. And so for me, I've been really trying with friends to open up and share like intimate things and like hard things. And then when friends share back, it's almost even more rewarding for me, because then that means they trust me with their shit. And I don't know if that answers your question. That's just something I'm not I realize very late in life. Like I feel very stunted in certain ways, like emotionally, and I realize very late in life that it's because I'm not experienced. I didn't like hone the muscles, and like, you know, when you work out, your like muscles are better, like they're more used to stuff, and I didn't build those muscles of communication. And like truly 5 years ago is when I like started to be like, oh wait, what we like, 'cause it's yeah. And so that's what I'm working on most. It sounds like such a basic thing, but when you think
Not at
about it, I
all.
mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of my relationships are, while I love them, are very like surfacey, and we never really like deal with a lot of real stuff that's going on with each other. And I've found lately, I don't know, that those kinds of the relationships are the ones that I'm like seeking out. And quarantine has been, and COVID has been very clarifying in that way.
Yeah, and I think it's also like, I mean, communication is a big part of like marriage or kids or just life in general. So I think like you recognizing like, okay, this is an avenue that I can just strengthen even for myself and not necessarily tied to another person, I think is so powerful, because it's like you gotta love yourself first. You gotta get along with yourself first, you know?
Just to be able to properly identify how I feel. Like is so basic, but important. You know what I mean? Like the more I started to try and identify that for myself, the more I just, and it doesn't even matter with anyone else, but the more I sort of was like, I don't feel like this is something that everyone's doing all the time. I don't know.
Well, I mean, before we get to audience questions, we got a lot of good questions. I want to ask you, like, what do you see or hope for yourself in the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years? Like, what do you imagine your life would be like, or what would you like it to be like?
Ay. Pheebs.
Going deep.
What do I envision my life for the next 5 or 10 years? And you know what? This is like, I'm hesitating. Well, one, it's a big question, but I'm hesitating because I'm so used to answering in a professional way. Like, I don't know if you feel this too, but I would usually be like, okay, well, so like, I want to be like creating projects where, you know, and I have those things and those goals, but they've kind of shifted where like, okay, well, a big thing I want, hopefully before 5 or 10 years is like way more
Mhm.
balance in my life,
Mhm.
personally and professionally. Um, and I want all the work I do to kind of reflect the personal growth I'm doing. So I want
Mm.
all the stuff, all like the stuff I was just talking about communication and really feeling feelings and being more aware. I think all of that fuels into the work because I'm like writing characters that can only get
Yeah.
those things better. I guess I guess ultimately it's the most basic want I think is to share. I want to share my life with somebody at some point.
Mhm.
Um and to um yeah, to really I guess before that happens, what you said is just to really know myself, uh,
Mhm.
because I think I'm in there, but I'm still, like, on that journey, whereas I think I could use a little bit more time maybe before I'm with somebody else right now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know about the kid thing. I think that
Mhm.
I hope in the next 5 or 10 years, I will, make a decision on that one.
Mhm.
Um I'm so rambly about this.
No, it's
Um,
great. It's sort of you're speaking it into existence as that's good. I like it.
yeah, I hope to be able to still kind of cross like mediums with
Mhm.
creativity, be able to still do what I do in TV and film while also like doing more visual art and voice stuff and I don't know. And in terms of friends and like relationships, I just want to continue on this path of like kind of going deeper. Whereas
Mhm.
I feel like I've been kind of floaty
Mm.
in my life so far, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I feel like our friendship has definitely gotten deeper. So I see the work, honey. I see it
Okay, I'll
happening.
take it. No, I feel
Okay.
that way too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my favorite part of the show. We have a
Okay.
few questions for you. And your advice could be like funny, it could be ignorant, it could be serious. We just want to have make people feel good overall.
Okay.
So this first question is from Amy, who lives in Richmond, Virginia. And she writes, I've always been on the fence about having kids, but leaning towards the not unless I find the perfect partner and they really want a family side. I found someone who I think might be that perfect partner. We've been together 6 months now, so obvs we're not like getting married tomorrow, but marriage is where the general trajectory of our relationship is headed, and I love him, so that's great. He's always wanted to be a dad, so here I am approaching the I found the perfect partner and they really want a family situation. I just turned 28, so basically I
Oh
just
no.
turned 28, so basically my eggs are dying. Oh
Yeah,
my god, Amy,
we
that's
just want them to feel better with these answers. Yeah.
yes.
Cool. Cool, cool.
Which means I need to sort this out sooner than later. I know I'd be a great mom and I would enjoy a lot of things about motherhood, but what should I even be considering? But should I even be considering it if it's mostly to make my partner happy? How do I know if it's actually something I want for me? Ooh,
There's so many
yeah,
things in there.
I know.
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest thing would to be to just have like an open
Mhm.
conversation about it. As long as they're doing that, I think it's um all out on the table, but if there's like
Mhm.
I feel and this is also just like from watching movies, but also
Yeah.
having conversations with peers, which is like you feel like so much is happening behind the scenes in women's
Mhm.
minds of like, okay, I'm 28, my eggs are freezing, but he wants kids. But like I love him, but like I don't want to do it just for him, but like I might want it if I have the right partner. But like there's
Right.
so much back and forth. You're like having conversations with parts of yourself. And
Mhm.
I think it's like, well, I don't think you should have kids if you're just doing it for somebody else.
Agreed.
That's one.
Yeah.
But if you don't wanna have like what I was saying earlier, where if you don't wanna have kids, kinda you don't wanna have them so much that you want to have them on your own, but you're like, oh, I'm with somebody. We both want kids. Great. But I also think it's intense to have a conversation 6 months in. Like, I don't think she should have a conversation about that unless she wants kids so much.
Yeah.
Like, if you are 28, I don't know when your eggs are officially dried up or whatever, but if you're 28 and you've always wanted kids and you're with someone and you love them, that would maybe be a time where you're like, hey, I know it's early, but I've always wanted kids. What do you think? Do you want kids? You know,
Yeah.
but I don't know. What do you think? I'm like rambling again.
No, I think I agree with you that you shouldn't have kids for your partner, because that there's always going to be some part of you that will be resentful of the fact of like, I'm doing this for you, even though I don't want to do it. And I think that like, 6 months in is way too soon. And I feel like you need to go through the things of like living together, of like really like experiencing a life together and seeing what your teamwork is like. And, I feel like Bake Off and I have learned so much about being a team from living together these past 2 years that we just wouldn't have if we just lived separately and we were like, okay, let's just like move forward with our relationship 6 months in. So I think like take the time, take the pressure off. If you're unsure, maybe consider freezing your eggs. And I don't even know if you necessarily need to have a conversation with your partner about that. I think that's something you could do independently. But I always get worried about rushing into a decision because you feel like you don't have time, because you end up doing something that you might not have done if you thought about it a little bit longer.
And 28 is not like I don't think should be like emergency egg time.
Yeah.
Not quite yet.
Yeah. So best of luck, AIM. That's
you got
a
it.
doozy.
You got this, AIM.
Oh, okay. Okay. This is from Millie in Brooklyn, New York. Hey, Phoebe and Abby. I recently came out to my parents, and while they've been really cool about it for the most part, it is a bit of a stumbling block to my dad about the idea of not having grandchildren, which, like, not necessarily true, Dad. Any advice on how to talk to him about this one?
See, I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier, where it's this bizarre homophobic ingrained thing that like, oh, if you're queer and you're in a same-sex couple, you won't have grandchildren. And also, it's like say she didn't birth her own children, they adopted, they're still his grandchildren.
Exactly.
So that's a different conversation, even if she married a man.
Yeah.
That's like, the parent thing is tough. I think, again, I would say like communication, but an open communication and like dialogue and kind of like pulling out that conversation, because she could compare it to adopting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it is good to have the conversation. Just be like, hey, I know it's not your intention. But when you say things like this to me, it makes me feel this certain way. And I think you should just really rethink about what it means to be a parent and not sort of limit what you think my life can look like. Because I think, most
that
parents...
sounds a lot better than what I said.
No, but...
No, but that's so true. Yeah. It's like, well, what a parent is not just a man and a woman having children. He needs to start unlearning that.
Yeah. And just, I feel like a lot of times parents just like, they don't necessarily think that they're saying anything inappropriate. And so I think it's good to sort of just like gently explain it to him, because he then might go, oh my God, that's so not what I was trying to say. I'm so sorry and I won't ever do that again. So I think there's hope, Millie. So
yeah.
Godspeed. Ooh, okay, this one's good. Okay. Okay, actually, these are both really good. Ooh. Oh, okay. We're going to do this. This is anonymous. And I saw the beginning of this question. I know why. Okay. This is from anonymous. I'm 36 and single and very much would like to have a child. Recently, the love of my life, who broke my heart, has come back into my life. Friending me on Instagram, duh. He and I have been talking every few days over text and phone calls. He is living with a girlfriend. No, bitch. Oh my God. Anonymous.
You hadn't finished that question.
No. Oh my God. Okay. He is living with a girlfriend, so I have not expressed that I am still in love with him and would like to get back together and have a child with him. Okay.
Anonymous.
Okay.
I'm happy you kept anonymous. Because I'm also like, a question like this, and I hate saying this, I think they wrote this knowing what we would say. They need us to tell them right?
Yeah, we're gonna drag anonymous gently because this is wild. Okay, so I have tried to keep the conversations light and friendly so as not to seem predatory. He has expressed that the relationship isn't going well, and that one major problem is that he very much wants to have kids and she does not. Is he putting out feelers to get back together? Is he just looking for validation? Is he bored during the pandemic? Has the pandemic made him realize he has partnered with the wrong person? What should I do? Is it unethical to continue talking to him because he's in a relation? Am I a trifling hoe? What I want is to get back together with this man and have a baby. Anonymous.
Anonymous,
Oof.
I'm sorry. This sucks. It sucks because this is even just the questioning how long that went is like a cycle of like I think she's a she's fucking like, I don't know. Why is he doing this? She's probably checking that Instagram right now.
Yeah.
Not even listening to the podcast. Like she's in it. And it's like, it seems a little toxic. Like, one, he broke her heart. We don't know how or why, but that sounds like that was hard and painful. Not to say, whatever. The first half, I was like, okay, and he's back.
Yeah.
But he's living with a fucking girlfriend? No.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's like, it's just not. She wants us to tell her this too. She wants us to give it to her, right?
Anonymous, he's a piece of shit. Straight the fuck up. He is a piece of shit. Delete his number, block him on Instagram. This is trifling as hell because if he's going to do this to his living girlfriend, he would do it to you. If you guys got together and have a kid,
and he probably did.
Yeah. It's just like you don't. And like you said, this is very toxic. And if you do want to be with someone and raise a child, you don't want to bring it into a toxic sort of situation with a partner that is clearly not trustworthy. So I would say hell to the no. Like, don't entertain this. This also feels like, I know she says she's 36, but this feels like behavior of a 20-something dude where it's like, I'm going to dangle a carrot. I'm going to maybe say some things to hook you, but I'm going to be non-committal, but I'm going to be over here. And I don't know. And
it's someone that just he seems like he just wants like someone to be into him, and it's not working out with his girlfriend. He's got you back now. And it's fucking bullshit. No. Yeah. Anonymous deserves better than this.
Yeah. Listen to us, Anonymous. We won't steer you wrong. Okay. Okay, so I have 2 questions left. I'm going to pick just one. Okay. This is from Iman, not the model.
Oh,
but
damn. Who's not writing in? She's not writing in? Damn it. Phoebe, what kind of podcast is this?
I should hang it up.
You should just stop.
Okay, this is really cute from Iman. Iman writes, first of all, love you both immensely. Cute.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're so cute. I'm only 20 years old, but growing up in a Pakistani American household has a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure was put on the ideal of a nuclear family. Whew. I grew to resent such antiquated / patriarchal standards and have chosen to rebel completely against them, swearing I will never get married or bear children. I'm terrified that this rebellion will result in my own unhappiness since I've internalized the concept marriage and having a family as ultimate life goals. How do I navigate cutting out all of the BS of the pressure from society and pressure from my own internal rebel in order to find out what I truly want for myself? I wouldn't get married or have children unless I was completely sure about it. How do I know if I'm sure? My choices will result in backlash either way. Might as well do what I want to do. Whew. That's
a
tough.
lot.
I mean, is there a world, Iman, where you would consider going to therapy to talk about this? Because I feel like there is so much happening with like family pressure and societal pressure and cultural pressure that I think it's good to sort of like spend, I don't know, 6 months or a year or a couple years unpacking all of this to actually figure out what you do want, because you don't want to make big life decisions out of spite. I think that's always a mistake, you know?
Yeah. And I also think, well, one, it's so incredible that at such a young age, she's only 20, she knows this about herself, but also about her family. She knows what she doesn't want.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's important to allow yourself and your wants and needs to change. So I like the rebellious spirit and like declaration is fucking rad, but also I don't want it to like limit you. If you do find you want to be with someone and get married, like it just could shift and be in your way and not their way. But I do think the therapy thing is like a really good and incredible tool to get to like really pull all of that out and just have yourself having an ongoing conversation about it. Because I don't know if there ever is a way to know. What's the end of her question where it's like, how do I know for sure?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, you might not.
Yeah.
And like, we all make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing, I guess, to like sort of sum up this episode is like these marriage and parenthood is sort of a thing where you're not going to know everything before it happens. You know what I mean? So like you don't know if your marriage is going to work out. You don't know if you're going to love being a stay-at-home parent. You don't know if you're going to love working as a parent. You just don't know how it's going to go. So I guess you just have to really just make peace with the unknown and then just sort of like follow your heart and what you think is going to be best for your life. And, you know, just fucking pray to like Serena Williams's, I don't know, weaves. Like just, you know, call on a higher power if you need. Who's your higher power, Abby?
Man, I don't think I have one right now. I don't have a good answer to that right now. Do you?
Well, you know, I think my higher power is Tracy Ellis Ross's Pattern Beauty. That line has totally changed my hair, and it's got, I mean, this is a wig, so my hair has not become this amazing overnight, but
you're like, this is Tracy Ellis Ross's hair products in my hair.
But I just love that, like, if I feel good about my hair, I feel like I feel okay about most things, you know, which I know is kind of a shallow thing, but
no, it's not. It's about self-confidence.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's shallow. I think that that's, I understand that. Like a lot of my shit stems from like feeling good about my like body stuff personally. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's my higher power, but yeah, so I get that.
Well, Abby, this has been so good. I think people listening to this are going to love this conversation and maybe encourage them to have conversations with like friends and family. So I thank you for being so open and raw and willing to go deep and willing to say, I don't have the answer to that, because I feel the same way about so many things. And I just adore you and I miss you so much.
I know. I adore you and miss you too. Thank you for having me. It's so I don't know if other guests feel this way. I don't know how many you've done, but I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to be like, was I being too honest? Because I feel like I'm just FaceTiming you and forget it's going to be on a thing.
Isn't Abbi just like the biggest ray of sunshine, babe?
It was just a delightful conversation.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. And anyone listening, again, I think the biggest takeaway from this episode is that if you are not sure of whether or not you want to have kids, that's okay. You have time to figure it out. If you want a little added insurance, you can freeze your eggs, you know?
Yeah, and absolutely. If you're at a point in your life now where you're wondering if you need to make the decision, there's always adoption as well. I think that's a great opportunity to not maybe give back, and like with the plenty of children that need a solid family as well.
Yeah. Oh, you're so tenderhearted, babe. Okay, so this is a great episode. Check out her book. I Might Regret This. If you haven't read it yet, go back and watch those old episodes of Broad City because they're gonna warm your heart.
They're delightful. And
they're gonna make you laugh your ass off. And as always, we are an indie podcast, baby. We fund ourselves, okay? And we are not taking ad dollars. We're not freaking just bowing down to the man. We're not like, White Castle, please give us money.
Seems to have really hit a nerve with you right there. Also, White Castle?
That was the first place I could think of.
KFC, you ain't giving us any money.
But we really wanted to, during this climate of not only in the nation, but the world, we wanted to sort of reserve ad space from just Black-owned businesses that we love. They didn't ask us to do this. They don't know that we're doing this. And so today I want to highlight one of my favorite new sort of like discoveries in the world of jewelry, Lorraine West Jewelry. I'm going to spell out the Instagram for you guys. It is LORRAINEWEST Jewelry. Like, you should just know how to spell jewelry at this point.
And Lorraine.
And West.
Yeah.
At her on Instagram, and also go to LorraineWestJewelry.com. I mean, you guys might have seen her earrings on Beyonce.
Oh.
And Zendaya.
Ooh.
And I was going to say me, but yeah, no one cares.
Well, links in the description below.
How famous do you think I have to get before people will care what jewelry I'm wearing, babe?
I think a solid D list.
Dang. I'm still on the F list after everything?
Sure.
What?
What about E? E list?
Can I be C-? Like, do you think that
was my grades at school. A solid C-.
I mean, do you feel like if I weren't dating you and I was dating someone else, it would make it on to like TMZ?
I think if you leaked it yourself, yes.
Time for credit! Host Phoebe Robinson. Producer Phoebe Robinson.
You forgot the 4 names, and one of those names is yours twice.
Okay, producer Phoebe Robinson in British Bake Off. Editor British Bake Off. Theme song Gavin Turek. And that's it.
Hold on, that was 3 names, not 4. That's right, though.
I'm hanging on the best I can, you guys.
By a loose thread.
Okay, bye.